I thought it should have been 70 games, honestly, personally.
Rather than 65.
Yeah,
right?
one in 65.
70 games.
65 games. Starting this season is the new minimum requirement for players in order to be eligible for awards such as the MVP. But some people believe this minimum game requirement should be higher. So what if it was? What if it always was? How would this change certain players' career? Would it make a top 20 player a top 10 player? And vice versa, would it make a top 10 player a top 20 player? Let's find out. $68. That's the total amount of MVPs throughout NBA history. It would have been funnier if it was 69. Of those 68 MVPs, only 7 of them have played less than 70 games. These players being Karl Malone in 1999 playing 49 games, Bill Walton in 1978 playing 58 games, LeBron in 2012 playing 62 games, Giannis in 2020 playing 63 games, Bob Cousy in 1957 playing 64 games, Joel Embiid in 2023 playing 66 games, and Bill Russell in 1958 playing 69 games. Now of these 7, 4 of them happened during a lockout season. Now if we do some PEMDAS, we could see that 70 games in a normal season is slightly above 85% of all games played. And applying this to all of the lockout season, we could see that all of those MVPs met the minimum requirement of 85% of games. So this just leaves 3 MVPs. Bill Russell in 1958, Bill Walton in 1978, who doesn't even meet the 65 game criteria.
Bruh.
And lastly, the most recent MVP, Joel Embiid in 2023. Disclaimer, I'm gonna be fully honest and transparent here. I wasn't alive for 70% of NBA history. I was not watching basketball in the 70s, 60s, 50s, and 800 BC.
Oh my God!
And I also don't have a basketball degree like these certified sports analysts. So mentioning where these players stand in terms of all-time greatness, I'll be referencing the ESPN Top 75 list. So if you don't agree with the ranking, that's on ESPN and I take no blame. Also, the new MVP for this would be the highest ranking player in the MVP voting that reached 70 games. 1958. ESPN has Bill Russell listed as the 6th greatest player ever, and if we were to remove this MVP, he would still be a 12-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA, 4-time rebound champ, 11-time NBA champ, and 4-time MVP. Essentially, with or without this MVP, Bill Russell will be looked at as a top 10 greatest NBA player. So who is next on MVP voting in 1958? That would be Dolph Schayes, who is ranked at number 70 for the greatest player of all time. Dolph was a 12-time All-Star, 12-time All-NBA, 1-time rebound champ, and a 1-time NBA champ. If we were to award the 1958 MVP to Dolph Schayes, he would be one of 3 players to have all those accolades in their career, joining Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Hakeem Olajuwon, both top 15 players of all time. Now, I'm not saying if he was an MVP, he would be a top 15 player, but he would definitely be higher than number 70. Maybe top 60? Once again, I did not watch basketball in the 60s, so I can only base this off accolades and stats alone. 1978. ESPN has Bill Walton as the 44th greatest player ever, and if we were to remove this MVP, he would still be a 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Defense, 2-time NBA champ, 1-time Finals MVP, 1-time rebound champ, and a 1-time block champ. Bill Walton probably had the shortest prime of any NBA superstar, but when he was in his prime, he was undisputably the best player in the league. Based on all of that, he would probably still be regarded as a top 50 NBA player. So who was next in the 1978 MVP voting? That would be George Gervin, who was ranked 52 for the greatest player of all time. George Gervin was a 12-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, and 4-time scoring champ. If we were to award the 1978 MVP to George Gervin, he would be one of 4 players to have all those accolades in their career, joining Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, and Kevin Durant, who are all considered a top 15 NBA player. Once again, I'm not saying if George Gervin were to be an MVP, he would then be considered a top 15 NBA player, but he would be higher than rank 52, definitely top 50 player at that point, and possibly a top 40. 2023. Joel Embiid is not on the ESPN Top 75 team. I mean, the list is a couple seasons outdated, as it was for the 75th anniversary, so we can say now Embiid is a top 75 NBA player of all time. And if we were to remove Embiid's MVP, he would still be a 7-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defense, and a 2-time scoring champ. The only other 4 players with those accolades are MJ, Kareem, Kobe, and Shaq, all of them being top 15 players. With that, Embiid would still be regarded as a top 75 player with or without the MVP. So who is next in MVP voting in 2023? That would be Jokic, but he only played 69 games. After him was Giannis, but once again, he only played 63 games. And after that, we got Jason Tatum, finally someone who played 70 games. Tatum right now is currently not a top 75 player of all time, but let's compare him to other greats at the same age. Tatum before turning age 26 is a 5-time All-Star and a 3-time All-NBA. If we were to award the 2023 MVP to Jason Tatum, he would be one of 6 players to achieve all those accolades before age 26, joining LeBron, Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan, Oscar Robertson, and Bob Pettit, all of which are considered top 35 players of all time. Had Jason Tatum won the MVP, maybe you could argue he would be a top 75 player of all time. Once again, both Embiid and Tatum are still playing, and they do have their prime years ahead. I have no doubt that these 2 players will make the 100th anniversary team in like 2 decades when that comes out. But would this MVP be the difference between one of them being a top 30 player, a top 50 player, a top 70 player, possibly even a top 10 player? Only time can tell.
Tell me what you see. Is it money or it's me? I smoke 20, smell the weed. I got